Right.
Okay, Chair, off you go.
Good morning and welcome to the Exmouth Beach Management meeting on the 16th of January 2024. I'm your Chair, Councillor Jeff Young. May I remind members that the Code of Conduct applies throughout this meeting. We also reserve the right to remove and disconnect any participant who is disrupting the meeting by whatever means. Please turn any telephone devices off or to silent. This meeting is being recorded to be reloaded later at the Council's YouTube channel. Let's get started by everyone briefly introducing themselves. Debbie, can you take us through who is here, please?
Thank you, Chair. So in no special order, I'm just going on who I see up on my screen. So there's no order of preference. Let's start with Pauline Stott. Can you just tell us who you are and who you're representing, Pauline?
I'm Councillor Pauline Stott and I represent Exmouth Town Council.
Lovely, thanks Pauline. Moving on to Tom, please.
Assume that's me, Tom Buxton-Smith, Engineering Projects Manager here at East Devon District Council.
Thanks Tom. Let's go on to Councillor Tim Dumper. Morning Tim.
Morning Debbie. Yes, I'm Tim Dumper and as far as I remember, I'm representing Town Council here and not District.
Okay, I think you might be a dual hatter, Tim, but we'll come back to that.
Oh well, yeah. Also Halsden Ward, I might say as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Councillor Nick Hookway. Morning, Nick.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, my name is Nick Hookway. I'm the Litnum Ward member for East Devon District as well as Exmouth Town Council. I'm also a portfolio holder for culture, sport, leisure and tourism, so I have a very keen interest in what this committee is going to do to the beach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Chetna. Good morning, Chetna.
Good morning. My name's Chetna Jones and I'm the Deputy Town Clerk for Exmouth Town Council.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Councillor Marianne Rixon. Good morning, Marianne.
Good morning. Marianne Rixon, East Devon District Councillor for Sid Ford, not Exmouth, I'm afraid, and Climate Action Portfolio.
Thanks very much, Marianne. Moving on to Anne. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, Debbie. I'm Anne Hall, Littleham Ward Member for EDDC. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Harriet.
Hello, yes, Harriet Gouge from the Environment Agency in the projects team, and I'm one of the advisors from the EA on the BMP.
Hello, everyone. Kenneth, I'm with Harriet, Coastal Officer, Environment Agency for South Devon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. So moving on to Paul.
Oh,
Paul
hello.
R.
Yeah, Paul Russell. I'm standing for Ralph Collison, who's away at the moment, and I'm a member of ex-kite boarders. I think Ralph vaguely represents water users on Exmouth Beach, so that's me.
Thanks very much, Russ. So basically, is that the Exmouth Water Users Group, effectively?
Yes, it's so specifically ex-kite boarders, but Ralph represents the wider users, I believe.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to Andrew Hancock.
Oh, I like the waiting to see who's next. Thanks, Debbie. I'm Andrew Hancock. I'm the Assistant Director for Street Scene at East Devon District Council. The engineering department is part of Street Scene. It used to get John Golding, who was our director, attend these meetings, but he's since retired. So you're stuck with me now, I'm afraid.
I'm sure none of us feel stuck. Let's move on to Paul Norton. Morning, Paul.
Hello, yes, another Paul. Yeah, I'm the project manager for ACOM, the consultants appointed to undertake the Exmouth Beach Management Plan update study.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to Ollie. Morning, Ollie.
Morning, Debbie. Yes, I'm a ward member for Town Ward for East Devon District Council and for Town Council. And I'm also portfolio holder for strategic planning.
Thanks very much, Ollie. Let's move on to Jake.
Morning. My name is Jake Stewart. I'm representing Stewart Line Cruises and X-Fishing in Exmouth.
Thank you very much, Jake. Let's move on to Jonathan. Good morning.
Morning, thank you. Yeah, John Short. So I am Senior User and Project Director from ACOM.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Christine Channon. Good morning, Christine. You're on mute at the moment, Christine.
Pick me off again. I'm County Councillor Christine Channon, and I represent Exmouth and Budley Coastal Ward.
Thank you very much. So on to Todd. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Todd, ward member for Wimple and Rockbere, one of the wards that's about as far from Exmouth as you get in East Devon, and I'm here with my assistant portfolio holder for Coast Country and Environment hat on.
Thank you very much, Todd. Let's move on to Alan.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alan Frampton. I'm Strategy, Policy and Environment Manager for Flooding Coastal Risk Management at Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, and I've been helping Tom scope and procure the BMP update and now acting as East Devon's client project manager to guide delivery.
Thank you very much, Alan. So penultimately, Councillor Matt Hall. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor Matt Hall. I'm the East Devon and Exmouth Town Councillor for Exmouth Withycombe Ward, and I'm also the East Devon portfolio holder for Economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that leaves, last but not least, your good self, Chair.
Yep, I'm Councillor Jeff Young, East Devon District Councillor for Woodbury Ward. In fact, Exmouth is the closest beach to me, so I tend to use that beach quite a lot. I'm portfolio holder for Coast Country and Environment, and for my sins, I'm chair of this committee. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chair. So I have had 3 apologies sent through to me. So John Morgan from Exmouth Watersports sends his apologies, as does Steph Bridge. Sorry, John Morgan from Exmouth Watersports. Steph Bridge from Edge Watersports is unable to make it, and also Lynn Lind from ACOM, but obviously you've got representatives here for that. So I think we've kind of covered the welcome part. So shall we crack on with an update on the project, Chair, from Tom?
Yep, thank you. So it's agenda item 2, update on the project, over to Tom Buxton-Smith. I think it's going to be mainly a Tom Buxton-Smith show again, as usual.
Not necessarily, actually. Alan and Paula are doing some presenting as well. But let me share my screen if I can remember how to do this. The right screen. Okay, it always does funny thing to zoom at my end. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, Tom, that's
so item 2. How's it going to let me scroll? It's just very on the go slow today. So before we go into the update, just a quick reminder of the scope of the beach management plan to make sure we're sort of generally thinking on the same lines. So it's a physical project extents to the within the beach area, and also the physical project area, but including looking at inputs in the estuary. And the beach management plan is to manage the long-term physical nature of the beach. It's not the management of the day-to-day running of the beach. We also have the aims as treating the project as relatively urgent, aiming to look at the reducing sand loss on the beach and increasing if possible, maintain beach to protect the sea wall, which is obviously very apt given what happened before Christmas, maintain and improve the amenity of the beach, and then carry out all aims in an integrated and sustainable way. So an update is actually relatively brief, although a lot's happened. It's mostly behind the scenes. So as you might gathered, East Devon are pretty busy with many projects. So we have a formally appointed Bournemouth Christchurch Pool Council, which is abbreviated to BCP. So if you hear me say BCP, that is who I'm referring to. Alan is helping project manage this project for us from BCP, and this is using what will become a service share agreement, but it's under the can't remember now. I want to say Coastal Protection Act, that local authorities are able to share resources to help deliver projects. So given the amount of projects we have on, it felt sensible to join up with BCP and help use some of their expert resource to help deliver this going forward, rather than it be and give it some speed to keep it moving, rather than it having to wait until other projects complete. So as part of that, Alan led on our procurement process, where we, using our previous BMP talks, where we looked at the scope and everything else, we sent that out to the market, and we had 3 decent bids received from various consultants. We then appointed, the winning bid was AECOM, who are on the call today, and they have been successfully appointed to carry out the beach management plan study. Essentially, that means that they will be the ones developing the study, driving it forward, and feeding in all the information we're going to collect from this meeting, existing information out there, and further public consultation, and coming up with the study, which will make recommendations, as we've previously discussed. So these recommendations will vary depending on the likely available budget, which will come out in the study. But there is, as was mentioned in the previous meeting, we almost want a realistic output in terms of funding, what we can realistically afford, but also a sort of a goal, a Rolls Royce, or if additional money could be found, what would we like to do, and the implications of it, which I think would be useful should additional funding be found above what we were originally expecting. As I said, it doesn't. The update for me doesn't sound much, but BCP and AECOM have been working considerably behind the scenes. So it's probably now apt that I pass on to their section of the meeting for them to go through, if that's okay. Alan, is that you, or is?
Yeah. So just
no worries.
navigating Zoom, because I never use it, so bear with me. Is that sharing my screen? Is that coming through?
Yes, we can see
Excellent.
that.
Yes, fine.
Right. I shall put it into presentation mode a moment. Right. Hi everyone. Yeah, thanks for the intro, Tom. Yeah, so as mentioned before, BCP been asked to help manage this project to get it moving and make some progress on the BMP update. So you've got myself and Paul are going to do a little bit of double act for the next 5-10 minutes just to talk through this, and we'll take questions. So in terms of the BMP extent, so the current plan didn't extend all the way to the marina, the slipway. So when we scoped this, we decided actually it would make sense to fill in that gap with this update. So we're going to extend that. Western Section Management Unit 1 is part of this work, in looking at just in covering off that whole section of the frontage. Just a reminder of the risks that the current mapping broadly shows. So a lot of flood risk on the western end. Most of that is dealt with by the Exmouth tidal defence scheme, but we do have in the central section further flood risk to think about, and then we've got sections of erosion if we stop defending to worry about, and that's based on the old or the current National Coastal Erosion Risk Map data, and that's in the process of being updated this year as well. So there might be some new erosion mapping to look at during the year. We're doing the BMP update in line with the Syria Beach Management Manual guidance, and that's all based around the concept of beach management cycle illustrated on screen here. And what we're looking to do is to review and update the BMP, including the management options for medium long term, so that we continue to have a resilient frontage as climate changes, and also looking to how can we best manage those risks and hopefully maintain an adequate beach as well, which obviously provides wider benefits than just the coast protection function, which is sort of the primary focus of what we're looking at with this BMP. So I'll hand over to Paul to talk through the project stages we're working through at the moment.
Thanks, Alan. So yeah, as you can see here, we've broken the project down into 4 separate stages. Stage 1 is pretty much complete now. This was the front end tasks. So primarily a site visit, which we attended back in October, and walked the full length of the frontage just to understand at first hand what the local issues are. There obviously have been subsequent issues during the storm events that have come to light. So, I mean, I did myself pop down as well to have another look post-storm and repair works just to see what was going on. So obviously that informs our understanding of the current situation, and also on top of that, various data gathering exercises and reviews. So collating information such as bathymetric surveys undertaken by the harbour master and his analysis of changes in the sort of subtidal areas, but also quite important, the coastal monitoring program that provides us with data on beach profile changes across transects, and also quite detailed aerial imagery derived from surveys. If you've heard reference to kind of LiDAR information, very high resolution, and can provide the sort of the spatial mapping of beach changes. So again, a useful source of information to inform our understanding. So we pulled that together and also developed a stakeholder engagement and communications plan, which has been shared internally for review and will no doubt be available for wider circulation. So that's also something that we needed to do to prepare for the first round of engagement, which we haven't got a confirmed date, but it's the week commencing the 12th of February. So that'll be an opportunity for us to come down, myself and at least one other colleague, to share our understanding with suitable sort of visual aids, posters and whatever, and talk to anyone that is interested enough to come along and explain our understanding of the processes. But also we want that to be a two-way process, inviting feedback and comments, understand concerns of the local people there on the ground, who obviously have a keen interest in the future of the beach, and understand what are their aspirations for the future, so that we can take those on board as we progress through the study. So stage 2 is that collation of the various data sets, but it's not all about the physical environment. We need to take into account environmental concerns as well, and understand what the sort of baseline economic situation is as well, because that'll be critical in terms of understanding what that do-nothing scenario might look like, and obviously lays down the groundwork for putting a case forward for further intervention in the future. So we will be building on the beach management plan that was prepared in 2015. That has some very useful information in it, but we're also building on that with the latest information right up to, I think we've got survey data for 2023 as well. So we're making sure we take all that information on board and make sure that, you know, everything's consistent. We haven't got an outlier in that data set, some anomaly in the data set, making best use of the available information. And as I mentioned before, yeah, we'll be sharing that with whoever comes along at the round one engagement event there in Exmouth, I believe in the town hall. Beyond that, we move into stage 3, which is perhaps where it gets a bit more interesting, where we start looking at, well, we will start looking at the options that were proposed in the previous beach management plan, but we won't be constrained by those. We will think more widely than that to perhaps include some other options that may not have been considered previously. And that'll also be informed by our discussions with those people locally, whether that's the general public or through these kind of discussions that we have throughout the project. So yes, there's a few reports that are in progress at the moment. We're finalising the Coastal Processes Baseline Report, and we're making a start on the current assessment of the condition of the defences along the frontage. And that information will be absolutely vital, sort of underpinning things going forwards within stage 3. And also bringing in the environmental considerations as well. So we'll be developing the economic case for the various options, and from that process, there will be a leading option or series of options for the. Obviously, it's not going to be a single option for the whole frontage. And those leading options will then be subject to further environmental assessments. If you're familiar with habitat regulations, assessments and marine conservation zones and water framework directive, those all need to be taken into consideration. And we will take those forward into the second round of consultation, which I think we might see that in the programme on the next slide, where that fits in. There's also a 3-month statutory and public consultation period, so not much technical work going on during that process, but we need to allow various parties to fully understand the implications of what is proposed and come back to us with any feedback on those. And finally, stage 4 reporting, which speaks for itself. At this point in time, we will have progressed things and identified that those preferred options, and this is the formal write-up of those and presentation of the report, and ultimately for sign-off by EDDC's cabinet. So that pretty much rounds up the various technical elements of the study. If we go to the next slide, Alan, we'll see how that fits in the time frame. So this is a very high-level program. We obviously have a more detailed version, which we could share if necessary. But this just shows us that we've pretty much gone through the first 3 months of this overall 12-month, 15-month program. Completed stage 1 tasks now. We're now gearing up for the first round of engagement. We'll be looking forward to that in February. So that comes under stage 2 there. And then there'll be follow-up actions from that, as described on the previous slide before, the sort of extended stage 3. Probably quite a bit of front-end activity developing those leading options, then the 3-month window for the consultation period, and then a sort of tying in with the phase 4 reporting at the end, with the completion likely to be the end of December, thereabouts in 2024. Back to you, Alan, with the next slides.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'm just going to touch a little bit more on what we're planning to do with the stakeholder engagement. So, as Paul said, we're in discussions about pinning down the date at Exmouth Town Hall week of the 12th of February. We haven't quite finished firm that up yet. We'll be having some information available, staff on hand to answer questions, seek feedback. We're developing an online survey feedback form as well to help us just ask some questions and get some hopefully structured information, and that should be going onto the project website as well. So we've got East Devon comms resource dedicated to the project we're working with to get all those things in place. And then the second round of engagement, we're anticipating, as Paul said, pretty into the summer of this year. And the plan at the moment is, once we've got the options appraisal drafted, to probably kick off that 3-month consultation period. There'll be a half-day meeting with invited stakeholders, so probably members on this call, and others perhaps still needs to be planned, but we'll present and have an opportunity for question discussion around what that options appraisal and proposed leading options are, and then that will kick off the 3-month consultation, and we'll do a drop-in event also then as well, and again update information on the website. So we haven't quite got the detail of that one planned yet. We're focusing on round 1 preparations at the moment. And just the final slide from me is just a reminder really of what we're going to get at the end of this process that we're going through over the course of this year, is that we will have the updated BMP that considers all the latest evidence and has looked again critically at what the proposed leading options are to set the strategic context to the BMP, and as appropriate, that will include a forward plan of studies, investigations, etc., that might be needed to make progress on those longer term options, and all the support the evidence, all the environmental appraisals, etc., will be part of that reporting. And that's me. That's us done.
Thank you for that very good explanation. Now we go to agenda item 5, which is questions for the project team. Have we got any questions? And we've got one from Andrew Hancock.
I'll warm us up, shall I, Jeff?
Yeah.
Apologies, because I'm coming fresh to this, so you may have covered this previously in scope, but it always comes up, doesn't it, when we get into these public consultations around what we'd like to achieve and what we can afford to achieve. The well-worn analogy before of I'd like a Ferrari, but I can only afford a Volkswagen. How are we going to cover that off in the public consultation phase? Or are we going to lead people a bit?
Yeah, so that was to the point Tom was making earlier, that we intend to come up with a couple of leading options, sort of the one that's realistic, viable, and one that's more aspirational. It aligns to the guidance we've been doing on other strategic studies recently as well. So we've generally, project I've been running, again, with actually some of the guys from ACOM actually, we've presented what we call the national economic option, which is the one if you strictly follow the national FSIM appraisal guidance rules, you would do. And then we've in places defined what we call a local aspirational option, which is the one where it aligns to that national one, but it does more, to generally speaking, taking into account the wider stakeholder views and aspirations for the area, which may not be representative of being able to claim FSIM central government funding, but there might be other pots of money, etc., available to implement. But so we've presented it that way, and in some cases we've also presented a backup option that if we can't get the funding for either of those, then we have to have a alternative do minimum kind of approach. So that's broadly the intent and direction I think we're going in. Paul, you want to say anything on that?
Thank you, Alan, for that. Next question I have got is Councillor Nick Hookway.
Right, thank you very much, Chair. I'm very pleased with what I've heard so far I think the idea of an aspirational and perhaps a more limited plan is very sensible. But I'm going to ask about the Exeter Harbour Authority. I noticed or heard that mention was made of the Harbour Master, thinking about how the River Channel is going on. So my question really is, are you going to involve them in this? And also, are you going to ask them for a financial contribution? Because I think any improvement that we make on the beach, if it improves the access to the rest of the river and the estuary, perhaps the Harbour Authority, Exeter City Council, should contribute. What do people think? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nick, for that interesting question. Certainly navigation is an issue. So do you want to handle that one, Alan?
So in terms of engagement, yes, we are. They are one of the stakeholders we'll be engaging with. We have actually been in contact to seek some information and data out of them on the navigation channel bathymetry data as well, which we've had a little bit of information of. In terms of funding contributions, yeah, I don't know about that. That's something we'll need to think about depending on what the options are. With partnership funding, any of the options we come up with are likely to need contributions from various sources, but it's really going to depend on the option who's benefiting. So yeah, maybe that's one to a broader discussion down the line once we've got the leading options identified and understand what the potential contribution levels are likely to be.
Thank you, Alan. Next question I've got is Councillor Tim Dumper.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to clarify one thing about the consultation and engagement process. I didn't hear anything mentioned about hard copy surveys or whatever. I mean, there's invariably quite a number of people who would prefer to do it that way than online, and I hope that that's being organised. Thank you.
Yeah, we can look at that. So yeah, we've been discussing that around. So we've got a sort of a project team meeting tomorrow to firm up the questions we want, and then the idea would be the online. But yeah, take your point about having some hard copies available for people. So we'll take that on board.
Thank you, Alan. Obviously, the town council offices would be very handy for people to drop in to see hard copies. Next question that I've got is Councillor Marion Rixon.
Thank you, Chair. My question also involved the funding aspect, and where are we overall at the moment with pots of money and where we might potentially get the funding from?
Who would like to answer that one? The $1 million question.
It's probably Tom.
Yeah,
I understand that one.
At this stage in the project, it's probably me to answer this. Obviously, the comparison is Exmouth BMP, where we are now. Well, it will soon become a beach management scheme, so it's much more further down the line with approved funding based on a outlined business case. This is the stage. Well, before that, this is the beach management scheme, as in things we could do. We don't yet have a full understanding of the benefits. So in terms of what property we could claim money for, as we're protecting, but also other assets such as the cycleway and other bits and pieces that are all connected. We don't have a full understanding of that, and depending on how much we are proposing to protect them over either course of many years or a standard of protection, it all varies with the amount of money we can claim. So it's really early doors for saying how we are. Yeah, we don't quite know the scope of how much central government funding through flood defence grant and aid we will get, or eligible for rather than get. The only thing I'd add to that is originally we were predicting it wouldn't be a lot of money, £100,000, that amount, kind of independent of the beach management plan, but obviously very related. We have the emergency seawall repairs for Exmouth, which I'll go into in a later agenda item. Their economics have suggested that a contribution could be much higher than 100k from the Environment Agency to pay for the seawall. That's not been tested, and it will be tested soon for that. But that has implications that we can use that data, especially if it's been tried and tested, because they've looked into the cycleway and all the events that run up and down the front, etc. So there is a potential that the funding from central government may be more than anticipated, but as I kind of mentioned earlier, we really don't have a handle on what level it is just yet. But it's a sort of an iterative process that we will look at what we can do and what benefits it will get and how much that will cost and if we can afford it. And obviously, we're not going to suggest things that we could never afford going forward. And that's kind of it regarding central government funding. Clearly, with all beach management schemes going forward, there's a partnership element to it, and very much like Sidmouth, near the time we would be seeking contributions from other bodies such as district council, town councils, county councils, and other users if they're set to benefit dramatically from any proposals. Sorry if that was a bit of a long answer to a short question, but
yeah, thank you for that, Tom. A question came up from Tim just now. Was surely with climate change, funding has increased? I can answer that one. Yes, to a certain extent, and also because the material costs and engineering costs have increased, that's been increased by EA recently, but not substantially. So be wary of that. Next question is Councillor Ollie Davey.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a question for Alan. Thanks for that, Alan. And I was interested, you mentioned the existing defences, and I just wondered what you would view the existing defences as. Obviously, we know about the seawall. Do you take into account kind of natural defences as well, and kind of projections of what the future of those natural defences might be?
Yes, we will do if they're present. I'm assuming you're thinking sand dunes as well. When we did the BMP in 2015, the sand dunes were, I think, hanging on by a thread, but I think they've since gone. But yeah, sand dunes could be viewed as a possible option in management technique, but also the groins towards the eastern end of the site as well. So the system interacts between all the different elements, and the beach is obviously the biggest component of that along the whole frontage, but we do need to think about the interaction of beach levels with groin levels and spacing, but also then seawall levels as well, and the interplay between that. So yeah, the system as a whole needs to be thought about in the process. So yeah, sand dunes may, if present, can be thought of in that context as well, because they do provide a natural buffer. But I know there's they're not there at the moment.
Thank you, Alan, for that. And we haven't got any more questions, so I think we can move on to agenda item 6, forward dates, public consultation. Back to you, Tom. You're on mute.
I've made the mistake. Yes, thank you, Chair. I probably need to confer with Alan and Paul on this. I had spoken to our comms lead, Patrick, on this, and I thought we had a confirmed date, but it may be an aspirational date, and I think possibly in a follow-up email we'll confirm the date to everyone. But we were looking, obviously, the week of the 12th, and I think it's been penciled in for Thursday, the 15th of February, from 9 AM until 1 PM. But don't put that in your diaries until I've probably had it confirmed at our progress meeting later this week going forward. But that will be well publicized, social media, etc., for anyone to come along, have a talk. Yeah, it's a two-way conversation, questions to and from us, to try and find out as much information as we can, but also ask questions about potential proposals. And again, just wanting to get as many people involved with it as possible to help us come up with sensible options going forwards that in the later consultation will be presented back to once they've been discussed, worked up and looked into.
Thank you, Tom, for that. Where do we go with this proposed date? Do we wait to hear that is the proposed date? Is there anyone that feels that it should be on another day or other timing? If does anyone want to come in on that one? I haven't got any hands, so